I wanted to stay with us for good.
From Juice to Poetic Justice, both of those were Tupac a little bit. You know, they were both certain sides to him. A person just isn't one thing.
As strong as he wasn't afraid to show how vulnerable he was. It was a strength in his vulnerability, and not everybody can do that.
You definitely have to have range. You know, through his music, everybody's seen that he could always make a hard song and then make a compassionate song, so it's only right for him to do that acting.
Once he'd established his range as an actor, Tupac returned to playing tough street guys in movies like Bullet, Gridlocked, and Gang Related, and he won the respect of his fellow actors.
Roll Tide! I'd worked with him above the rim, and he was there, man. It was like watching any great. Watching Pacino, watching Denzel, watching Tom Hanks. Pac was the same way. You're in a scene, they're in their zone, and you're just really committed. And Pac was committed. Like when he kicked me on the floor, he really kicked me on the floor. Get the f*** out! You don't hear me? My stutter? Get the f*** out, man! Get out! I didn't really appreciate that too much, but I stayed in character.
Tupac the actor became a new kind of star for a new generation of movie-going youth, and his screen career also encouraged future rap stars to try their hand at acting.
That just made everyone that ever wanted to even think about acting, you know, pursue acting.
Just me watching him and, you know, being a fan, definitely I, you know, got some tips from him. That did let me know that it could be done. I'm figuring that out now as I get more opportunity to do movies and TV.
This is the show we call Doggy Business.
He definitely showed us there's no real limit. I mean, in the 40s and 50s, a lot of actors and actresses would sing and do variety shows and do movies, have albums, and would just be multi-talented. And it's just been a long time since we had that, and he really lived that up while he was here.
He's a brain actor, and I think had he still been around, it's just a matter of time before he won his Academy.
Looking back now at his brief, tragically abbreviated life, it's clear that the most complex role Tupac ever played was that of himself.
You kind of watched every single step that he made. Every time he did something, he kind of lived a movie, you know? It's like you'd almost wake up every day like, all right, what is Pac going to do today?
Tupac himself talks about all the things he did and all the thoughts and feelings he had in the gripping new movie Tupac Resurrection, arriving in theaters on November 14th. Tupac Shakur, the subject of the new documentary Tupac Resurrection, due out November 14th, was a great rapper and a gifted actor, but he was also a tireless opponent of the racial oppression he saw throughout his life and the poverty that fed into it. Tupac knew about growing up poor firsthand.
When I met Pac, he owned 2 pairs of pants and a sweater. Went in his house, he had a mattress on the floor with no sheets. When I say poor, I mean poor. He had nothing. Listening to him made you see that there's another side, and reality ain't always the, you know, glamorous side of it.
Everybody isn't brought up in those environments, so they're not as conscious, like they don't feel as strongly about things as he felt.
Lord knows I tried, been a witness to homicides, drive by taking lives, little kids die.
He just took on the world, and I think people connected to that passion. They connected to that heart, to that soul.
Tupac's mother, Afeni Shakur, was a leader in the Black Panther movement in the 1970s, and it was she who fundamentally molded his political consciousness.
I was taught about the movement of Martin Luther King. Pac came in the picture and he schooled me on Malcolm X, the Black Panther Party, and so on and so on and so on. He was the president of the Junior Black Panther Party, and it was something that he lived.
Anybody who didn't listen to Pac and just shrugged off what he was saying was missing something that they could have took with for the rest of their life.
How you gonna be a man and we starving? Go ahead. You know? And we can walk by 5 different houses, ain't a man in either one of them motherfuckers. How we gonna be a man?
I think Pac represented, you know, the struggle of a lot of young people in America, particularly young black folks in America.
Pac was definitely an activist. He put the information in the music.
I hear Brenda's got a baby, but Brenda's barely got a brain. A damn shame, the girl can hardly spell her name. That's not our problem, that's up to Brenda's family. Well, let me show you how it affects our whole community.
There'll always be projects, there'll always be ghettos, there'll always be poverty. And hopefully maybe one day somebody will come along and change that. But until then, we always got his music to remind us of those issues.
Tupac stands out as a warrior. He was always fighting for a cause of freedom. You know, he was just always warring for us and making us understand that he was within the struggle with us.
Tired of being trapped in this vicious cycle. If one more copper ass was cheap, I just might go psycho.
He stood up against everybody. He stood up against the cops, the way society was, you know, the government, everything. Everything that was fucked up in the world, he would talk about it.
Tupac may have rapped about the everyday struggles faced by black Americans, but his lyrical brilliance and his uncompromising honesty struck a chord with a large white audience as well.
I guess no matter what color you was or where you came from, you felt like you could relate to him. He made you feel like you knew him.
I think he reached a lot of white audiences because that passion is not black or white.
And he wasn't just a gangster rapper either. Tupac's encompassing sensibility gave expression to women's experiences too.
To all the ladies having babies on their own, I know it's kind of rough and you're feeling all alone. Daddy's long gone and he left you by your lonesome. Thanks the Lord for my kids, even if nobody else wants them.
He dealt with the truth and he touched on women having babies too young.
I know you're fed up, ladies, but keep your head up.
Yeah, Keep Your Head Up is a really powerful song. No matter what you're going through, keep your head up.
Tupac Shakur died 7 years ago, but his voice remains, and it still speaks to a new generation.
Man, you could probably start courses off of Tupac in colleges somewhere. You could have a whole Tupacology, brand new science you create over Tupac.
In fact, classes focused on Tupac's work are now being taught at Harvard and the University of California at Berkeley.
I really like this video because it really presents Tupac in a way that a lot of you have never imagined him or thought he would be like.
Tupac's legacy will also live on at the Tupac Amaru Shakur Center for the Arts, which will be built in Atlanta and will expose kids to the arts and encourage individual self-expression.
That means more sometimes than trying to reach a million people because it's too hard to get your attention across to a million people. If you get to those 4 or 5, it might be a leader in that 4 or 5 that can have that voice.
In Tupac Resurrection, Shakur inspires others to rebel against oppression.
I'm doing it for the kid that really lives a thug life and feels like it's hopeless.
Throughout the film, he also expresses a complex understanding of his own life.
There are things that people need to know about him, and they need to have a real serious 360-degree understanding of his perspective. I think there was only one size televised, him being cuffed up, him being shot. Tupac always saw a more vivid view. There's a lot of sides to him that I think the world should see.
His influence is so big that it's like everybody is taking something from his music.
I'm proud of his existence and I'm glad I knew him. He was one of the greatest characters that God ever written.
That cat right there, there ain't gonna never be nothing like that again.
There is nobody like that man. I don't care how many records you sell. I don't care how popular you are. There is no comparison. None. And I don't know when there ever will be.